Hello everyone, and welcome back to Insights at DDLynn Designs, a unique twist in the art of wire. This is DDLynn, and I'm excited today to share with you this concept design on weaving and wire wrapping a gemstone. So I might change up the bail a little bit because I like to change things as I go, but I just wanted to really focus on teaching you this technique here. You can do any weaving pattern you like. So I've cut myself 4 pieces of 20 gauge square wire. And before we get started, please, if you like my tutorials, thumbs up takes 1 second. Don't forget to comment. If you have any questions, I promise I'll get back to you. And hit that bell so you know when my tutorials are coming out next. So I've measured my stone. It measures about 21 millimeters, just a little shy of a full inch. And I've cut myself 8 inches of, again, 20 gauge square wire. And I don't know if you can see over here, you probably can't, but let me move my tape up then. I wrapped my stone with tape as well so that I know how far I need to go on each side. And then this measures out to be 30 millimeters on each side. So this just keeps me going here as far as how far I want to go from my center point on each side of the weave. So I need approximately 30 millimeters, give or take a few. So I'm going to start with a 28 gauge weaving wire, and I am going to cut myself 6 feet. So give me just 1 second here. Should have done that in advance, but I won't be working off the spool. So that's 3, 4, 5, and 6, roughly. If I need more, I'll add it in. But that's what I'm guesstimating right now, how much weaving wire I'm going to use. Okay, so here's a tip for beginners. I'm always going to be patient for beginners. In order to make it easier for yourself, just bring your 2 ends together and just come all the way down to the middle so that your wire is even on both sides. And then I'm going to start from my middle mark. My bracelet's cutting into my... You guys like that? Isn't that cool? I can't remember the gal's name. I saw someone do something similar to this. It's not her pattern, but it inspired me to create my own organic looking bracelet, and I set it with the beautiful, beautiful turquoise piece. So anyways, I'm going to start in the middle. So I'm bringing my loop through, and I'm going to wrap around 2 times and push that together. And once I connect my first set of rows, I'm going to take these off. This is just helping me keep my wire straight and steady. Then I'm going to go over 2. Let's spread these ends out a little bit more. Oops, I came around the wrong way. Need to come around the back. Sorry, you guys. Here we go. I'm going to go over 2. Then I'm going to go under and over 3. So I'm coming around the back. I'm going to go over those 3. Then I'm going to go under. Keep them lined up really good. I'm always pressing my wire down in the back. Then I'm going to go over all 4. Then I'm going to go over, so I'm under again. I'm going to go back over 3. And then I'm going to go under again, back in between wires 1 and 2 over 2. And then I'm going to do 3 wraps. And that's full rotations. So that's one side. Then I'm going to turn it around, get my wires out of my way. Ooh, these are long. They'll tangle on you if you don't keep them separated. And I'm going to work in the opposite direction. So I'm going to take my tape off. And I'm going to spread my wires out a little bit. So I need one more rotation around the base wire, which is now what we're going to call the top wire, just for the sake of weaving. So now I'm coming around the back, and I'm going to do the same thing, but in the opposite direction. So I'm going to come over 2. So I'm going over wires 1 and 2 if we're counting from the top. I'm coming back up underneath, over the top, and I'm going to go over wires 1, 2, and 3. Coming back up underneath and over the top, and I'm going to go over all 4 wires. Then I'm going to come back up underneath, go over the top, and go over wires 1, 2, and 3. Back up underneath, over the top, and I'm going to go over wires 1 and 2. Don't let them get, this one was a little weirdly bent. Then I'm going to push them together. This one looks like it's a little bent. So I'm just going to make a correction. It's kind of turning on me because it was already a little bent. So I want to make sure that flat side is up and I'm not working on the edge. So then I'm going to do 3 full rotations. Now you can do one side at a time, or you can do switch off like I do, where I do a couple on one side and then a couple on another. And my throat is so dry. Wonderful Sedona is a beautiful place to live, but it's super dry. So your vocal cords really take a beating, especially if you're talking. So I'm going to very gently, and these are a very soft plier, meaning they don't have any sharp edges on it. And I'm just going to tap that down. So this is what we're looking at. So I'm going to do one more, and then I'll go off camera and complete it up to my mark here, how far I need to go on each side. So I'm going to start on the right again. And I'm going to go over 2. I'm coming around the back. So I'm going to do that. Then back up underneath over wires 1, 2, and 3. Back around the back. Over wires 1, 2, 3, and 4. Back around the back. In between wires 3 and 4. Back over wires 1, 2, and 3. Then around the back. In between wires 2 and 3. And down to the bottom. I'm going to push them together, and I'm going to do 3 full rotations. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Then I'm going to line them up and give them a gentle tap. Okay, everybody, so you're going to want to measure your stone and weave up to how far you need to be before we create the bell. And we're always going to make adjustments as we go. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm back. So I weaved up based on my little piece of tape here. If I have too much, I'll take some out. If I don't have enough, I'm going to move my camera because I can see I'm not really, ooh, that's as far as I can go back, or it's going to fall off. And now we're going to shape it around our stone. And I marked on my weaving the center, so I know where I'm going to start bending. And here's a little cool kind of idea. If you measure the base of your stone, okay, the widest part, it's going to tell you where you can start your bend. So my stone at its widest part is just a little over 1/2 inch. So here's another cool tip. It's my back. Is that my back? No, this is my back, my front. So what I can do is I can see that this is just a little over 1/2 inch. I can center this up and kind of mark where I want to start shaping my wire. This is really helpful, I think, for beginners and versus just trying to eye it. So I'm just going to kind of give myself a little focal, something that keeps my eye on where I want to start shaping my wire around this stone. Maybe you can see it and have a better visual by seeing how that's fitting in between those two marks. So that's really where I want to start shaping it. So I'm going to come to the outside of those marks. I can always squeeze it in, and I always recommend doing things in little increments, you know, in slow kind of motion. So it makes it easier for you if you have to make any corrections, but certainly work within your own speed or whatever your preference is on how you like to do things. I'm the type of person that likes to work in small movements. And I'm just shaping it. Want to keep my sides even. And then I'm going to put my stone down and see how I'm doing. And I'm doing pretty good. So now I'm going to swing these sides in, and I'm going to use my stone. I've got my sides parallel to each other. And I'm just going to squeeze my sides into my stone. And it looks like I'm going to need to maybe do another couple wraps. So I'm going to come from the top. And instead of rolling on the bottom now, I'm going to squeeze the top in because I don't want to lose that shape. And I can see I'm definitely going to need to do a couple more wraps. Because I want this to kind of go over the stone a little bit. You don't want it sitting flush to the bottom of the stone. The purpose is framing around the girth of the stone. So I'm going to weave up a little bit more and I'll be right back. Oops, sorry you guys. I wanted to mention that you need to cross your wires over first. You can leave a gap or not. I'm going to leave a gap space because I'm going to be using that gap space to pull my wires through. So before I continue my weave up, you want to set it to where you know that your stone isn't going to pop out. And then you're going to pre-shape your wires where that gap space is. So here's another hint. If you mark your wire on the inside, little tip there, then you know where you want to start bending your wires out. So I'm going to start shaping these out, and I'm just pulling them away from me, and I'm holding my thumb down where that mark is. Then I'm just going to kind of pull them up and out of the way. So you have something that's cockeyed like that. Then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to keep pulling them away until they're centered up. And it's just a lot of little manipulations. So now I'm going to put my stone back in. And you see how I've got that nice gap right there? And I'm going to weave up to about, here. Not exactly at the point, and I'll make that determination as I'm going. So I'll be right back. So just to give you a visual. Okay, so I weaved up a couple more, and now what I want to focus on is kind of pushing the wire, I'm bowing it sort of, on a little bit of an angle. So instead of having it perfectly flat, you can start to see how the sides, the inside is coming up a little bit. So how I'm doing that is I'm pushing, and your wire is going to be really hardened by now. So it's just some manipulation of kind of folding the sides out a little bit because I'm going to start weaving the center area. And just really pushing, I'm pushing the inside of this wire kind of up as I'm rolling the sides. And you'll start to see it now more as it's sitting on the mat that it's not flat against it. Then I'm going to put my stone in, and I'm going to get new weaving wire. I'm going to leave these on the side. They're probably not going to be long enough to weave up the sides, but I'm going to leave them on the sides. And I'm going to start weaving these 2 center wires. So I'm going to get these out of my way, and I'm going to add beads. I'm going to be using 2mm beads. So now I'm going to get my spool because I'm going to work off of it. And again, I'm using 28 gauge. And you can see what we're going to be doing with this center here. I'm going to change this up a little bit, you guys, because I always like to do things different. So I want my tail out the back so I can snip it out the back. You can do any kind of weave you want here. I want to stay on this line because I need that gap space to come back through later. So I'm going to do 2 around the bottom wire. Then I'm going to come up underneath them and do 2. And then I'm going to add my first bead. And I need to spread these out, I think. Hopefully I'll have enough room. If not, I might just have them rest on the edge. You know what? I think I'll do 1 more around, then I'll bring my wire, I'm going to have to cut off the spool now. So let me figure how much I'm going to need. I'm going to make a 1-inch bail. So I'm going to mark up here where I want to stop. And that will give me an idea. So I'm thinking I'll probably need, 2 feet. It's amazing how much wire we use. People don't understand that. When they see this, because so many people are doing it now. But there's a ton of wire being used, and that's how you determine your cost, etc. So I'm going to get my first 2mm and see how it sits in there. That was not a bead. It was a piece of scrap wire. Probably going to have to do this in 2 parts, you guys. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, if you've watched my last video, my camera just dies. My cell phone camera dies so easy. So I'm just setting the bead in there. I'm pushing it down in between a little bit. And then I'm going to do 2 and 2. I'm going to squish that down. Let me get this wire out the back. Slit up. There we go. Just kind of snap my wire there. See where my stone's going to sit. Perfect. See that gap space I have in there? So let's do this again. So I'm going to bring, I hope I wasn't out of frame there, you guys. I'm going to bring in another bead, I think. Let me see how it's going to set there, if it's too close. It is not. What did I just do here? I got my wires tangled. Oh my goodness, did I? That's what happens when you're working with a lot of wire. Pull those down. So again, I'm going to push my bead in between these. I'm pushing it down and holding it really firmly. I'm going to do one. And then this time I think I'm going to change up, instead of doing all copper beads, I'm going to add in a gemstone, a little 2mm gemstone. So let me slide this down, and I'm squeezing on my wire pretty hard, so I'm kind of flattening it out. Okay, let me get a gemstone. I'll be right back. So I pulled out a little tiny 2mm tourmaline. It's a pink tourmaline. And I'm gonna put that above those two. So I'm gonna do a couple of more beads. So mark your wire up to your 1 inch mark, which will give you a 1/2 inch bail, unless you want a bigger bail. And I'm going to do the same thing here. It's actually a little bit better than 2mm. Yeah, so the guy that sold them to me wasn't accurate on his size, but that's okay. I don't mind the little bit bigger size. This is a faceted tourmaline. And then I'll come in with, I'm going to open that up a little bit, my copper beads again. So I'm just going to do this, and then I'm going to up to, oh, so this is important. You don't want to come up 1 inch. Well, you can, and wrap your beads all the way around the back. I'm not going to do that. Nobody's looking at the back unless someone wore it that way. So if I want, I'm going to stop my beads, probably going to do 2 more copper beads. And so I'm going to stop them there, and then we'll start on the sides. Be right back. So I've weaved up to my mark and added in my 5 beads. And so I want to show you kind of a cool technique. I've tapped, and so this is that sumac weave again, and I've tapped it down very gently. And what I'm going to do is I am going to press these wires in the middle, and I have this little tool. And you can use anything long and sharp. I'm looking for it. It's actually a little dental tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press down in the middle my wires, and that's going to create some dimension, and they're going to flatten in there beautifully and make a demarcation, if you will. And then I'm just going to rock it back and forth. Hoping you can see that, everybody. So it really changes the bail and just gives it more dimension. It's more 3-dimensional now at this point versus just the wires going straight and flat across. So now we're going to start on our sides, and we're going to weave up all 3 just to right about here, and then we're going to pull this one out and around. So go ahead and get your weaving wire, and you're going to weave up. I might have to weave more here because I was looking at it earlier before I roll it back, which is why I have this excess wire. So I've got my excess here on each side, and I'm thinking that foot that I have is not going to be enough, so I might have to add in wire. So I'm going to continue this pattern, and it's either a pyramid, or some people actually call it like a tulip pattern. I don't know. It's just this pattern. I'm going to continue it up to right about here, and then I'm going to change it into like a 5-2 weave. So I'll stop when I'm here so to let you guys know how I'm going to move from there, and I'll be right back. So I wanted to pop back in really quickly as I was doing this pattern, which is the same pattern. I'm just going over 3 wires. I changed my mind and I decided I don't want to do a 5-2. I'm going to stay with this really pretty soft pyramid petal or flower. People have different names for them. And in case you're new and you're getting a little confused how to do the same thing over the 3 wires, I want to do this for beginners. So you've made your 3 rotations, and if you're coming over the top like I am, you're going to go behind wires 1 and 2, and you're going to come up in between 2 and 3. Then you're going to go all the way around the back, bring it over the top, and you're going to go all the way over wires 1, 2, and 3. You're going to come around the back again. See where my thumb is? And you're going to come up in between wires 2 and 3. And then you're going to go over wires 1 and 2. And then you do your 3 rotations. And it's the same pattern. It's just on 3 wires, not 4. And I really like the way that was looking, going from the 4 to the 3, just how it beautifully graduated like that. You can't do it on 2. It doesn't look the same. But, well, you can, but it just doesn't look the same, at least not to me. So I'm going to do that up to where the bail is here before I start bending over. And then I'll let you know if I need to add more weaving wire. Plus, I'm going to run out. So let me see what my time is here. I'm 26 minutes. I'm getting better because I'm trying to do a lot of what I'm teaching you off camera so that you get, you know, what you need. But you can see how this is coming in now. It's going to be so pretty. Isn't that pretty? And just with that subtle darker pink tourmaline in there. So I'm going to go off and I'll be back when I get up to this point on each side. So I just wanted to pop back in really quick, you guys. It just went through my head. You need to move your number 1 wire on each side out of the way. So, well, do I want to change that and do it different? See, on this one, I moved that wire out and I swirled it off because I wanted 6. So maybe, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do all 3. Sorry about that. I'm always changing my mind because I'm really liking that graduated look. So I'm going to do all 3. Just making sure everything's lined up beautifully. I want to come in a little bit closer to my bail. So it's just going to be a little bit different instead of those. Well, it's going to be a little bit different across the board. I'm doing an entirely different weave pattern, but it's the concept of the design. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I've weaved up to meet where the center bell is at. And if you find that you've done the same rotations, here's another tip, and one side is higher than the other, just come down where your weaves are. Use your fingers, not your pliers, and you will feel if you have any slack, and you can slide it down. And normally, that'll even you up. So that's what I experienced on the right side. So I just got my thumb in there and I started slowly, gently pulling those wires down and it lined it up perfectly. So now we're going to make the bail. And I'm going to start with my, do I want to start? Yeah, my center ones first. Got a lot of wires in here, so I want to kind of get them out of the way. And I'm going to bring these through the middle. So I like to use my hands, use whatever tool you find necessary. I'm going to bring my bail forward just a little bit. And I'm bending at the bead. And then I'm going to get my finger, and right where that bead is, I'm actually sticking my fingernail in there just to start my scoop. Then I'm going to do the same thing in the back. I'm using my fingernail to keep where I want it. And I'm going to roll this through. my piece. So I'm going to come through that center there, and I'm going to start rocking it back. And I could probably have weaved a little bit more, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be tied off. Now it's not all connected yet, so you're going to find some little, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. And I don't like this bubble like that in the back. So I'm going to get my pliers. And I want to make sure my flat side is up. So I'm rotating the flat side in the opposite direction of where it was rolling away. And I'm going to pull these through. And I'm going to hold my wires and kind of flatten them down a little bit as I'm rotating them through my frame. And that looks pretty good. I'm leaving this wire back on here because I'm not sure if I want to connect it somewhere to these. I don't know. But since I didn't bring my weave all the way down, I'm likely just going to just tuck in that little high side in. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and close it off. Got a kink. That little kink wants to catch up on the inside of my wire. And then I'm just going to cut it off. And I'm going to roll it in. I forgot when I was making this bale, because everything I do is freestyle. Every once in a while I don't. I look for techniques from really, really good artists. And so I may buy some tutorial from them because my goal is to look at the technique, not so much the design, but so I can use those techniques later. We're always learning from each other, even the best of the best. And so that looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to make sure my flat side is up and it's not. It's rotating. So let me figure out where that's at. It's right. Sometimes it's hard to see how the wire is turning. So I'm helping it so that I keep that flat side up. And this is doing the same thing. It's because it's coming through that little tiny opening. I want to rock it in the opposite direction that it's turning. So I'm going to leave those for right now. And I'm going to put my stone back in just to see how everything's looking. That's going to be really pretty. Okay, so we'll just kind of get these guys out of the way a little bit. And now we're going to shape these. And seeing where I could have gone longer on this, I'm going to go ahead and weave up probably another 1/4 of an inch on each side. So that will give me about 1 1/4 inches of length in weaving wire, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just went up a couple of more rotations, and I'm going to start working on the back. I'm going to do my back a little bit different than this one. But what I'm going to do is you can use a dowel or any tool. So for example, I can stick this in here so I know where I want to bend my bale wires back. I want to make sure that they're on an angle evenly, and they're not. Just want to make sure everything's centered up. Okay, so I'm going to take advantage of that. And I actually like something thinner, I think, but this will work for now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push these equally over that tool that I'm using to create my bail. Then I'm going to come around the back because it makes it easier if I can see what I'm doing, and I'm just going to push it down. And this is where we're going to start connecting the back and then getting our stone in there. And I'm probably going to have to do this in 2 parts, you guys. So let's finish this off, just as far as getting this positioned. I'm going to turn it around, make sure everything's looking hunky-dory up here. Okay. And then I'm going to press my wires down. You see I'm using my thumb into the base of my frame? See how I'm using my thumb? So the legs are kicking up. We're going to adjust all of that and change the shape. You just kind of want to set yourself up because we're going to put our stone in there and then we're going to attach it. I'm just spreading these out. Okay. So that's sort of kind of like what you should have. And where's my stone? So I'm going to slip my stone in there, and that's going to start giving me an idea of how I want to capture it. So I already know I'm probably going to put a tourmaline bead right here. Okay. So I already know I'm going to want to bring my wires in. So I'm just going to squeeze them in towards the middle because I, again, need to capture my stone. I'm going to be using these 2 outside wires just to give you an idea of where I'm going to go. And I'm going to create a gap space in between these wires here and bring this wire through the weaved frame and then back over so that I can start securing these wires against my stone. So you can see now as I push, and your stone's going to have a tendency to want to keep sliding out, and you're going to want it up higher. I don't want it down that far, but I will be making those adjustments as I go. But this is just telling me where I want to start encasing my stone. So I'm going to connect these 2 in the middle. And I'm going to be pulling these out probably to the side. So I'm going to bring these 2 in closer and then separate these out. And I might be bringing that outside wire over. I'm not sure. I'm just thinking about it as I'm going. And when I see things, then I go in that direction. I want to push my weave up here. Your weave will have a tendency when you're manipulating the wire to slide down. So you just want to make sure that you just check and make sure that they're staying up, or just slide them up a little bit. So I'm going to get these out of the way. So it's just given me, again, an idea of how I'm going to capture the stone in the back. But this is what I want. Here's another thing I just caught. My frame is flattened out a lot. So I want to kind of bow those out a little bit more. So I'm just moving the wires out of my way. So I'm going to really start that rocking on the sides again, kind of bowing it up, pulling on the inside of the wire as if I'm pulling it away from the frame. And I'm going to get, excuse my arm, where are they? My Oh my God, I can't remember the name of these. I always do that. I get a brain fart and I can't remember the name of them for nothing. That's funny. No, I've been pretty good, but today it's like, nope, I don't remember. See how I'm scooping that? Do you see that? See how I'm scooping it? This is much easier doing it with these than my fingers. This is going to capture the stone better. I'm scooping it. It's so much better. It's going to kind of lay down in it better like a cradle. See, and now it's not always wanting to slide to the bottom. Of course, it's going to fall out until I get it captured in there. So this is where we're at, everybody. I will see you in part 2. My battery is definitely going to die. I hope you enjoyed that. Please give me your feedback. And you can always follow me. I post all my new designs at Facebook, DDLYNN Designs. That's DEISGNS plural. My webpage is DDLynnDesigns.com and my Instagram. I wish for all of you all that you wish for yourselves, and may you have a magical, fabulous, wonderful, wire wrapped, let me stick that in there, day. Bye for now.